Hey, this is Christian Buckley, and we're doing another MVP Buzz Chat, and I'm here with Jussi Mori. And Jussi, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi Christian, thanks for having me. So my name is Jussi. I was born in Finland, grew up in Zurich, Switzerland. These are kind of my home bases where I'm based at, mainly working in Switzerland and living on the weekend in Finland. So mainly doing internet projects on the SharePoint modern world. Very interesting time to be in at the moment in the whole shift from the classic world into the modern. So I'm trying to help customers and especially end users to make this shift. So Christian, I'm all about user adoption.
Yep.
Very interesting topic and very close to my heart. So I think it's a very interesting time and spot to be in when talking about user adoption nowadays.
So Jussi and I have his background too. So we've known each other since I think 2010. I'm trying to remember when, because I went out. So we had met online, but in maybe at another SharePoint Saturday somewhere in Europe. But so I came over and spoke at a user group in Helsinki.
Correct.
And that may have been like 2011-ish.
Something around that time. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so you're still going back and forth between those regions. I've not had much of a chance to explore Zurich. I've been there once, and I'd love to get back there. And Helsinki I've been a couple times, but that's a lot of hopping to go back and forth between those locations.
I know. Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm organizing SharePoint Saturday Helsinki and SharePoint Saturday Zurich. So probably there will be some chance that you could come visit.
Well, the problem is, of course, I'm organizing SharePoint Saturday Utah and Blockchain Saturday here and a bunch of other events here locally. And so, as you know, it makes it more difficult to go travel when you're organizing 4 or 5 events per year.
Yeah, of course.
But so why don't you? So you talk a little bit about like the user adoption. So Jussi and I have also presented together a number of times on various topics around gamification, social capabilities, and all focusing on end user adoption. So why is this issue, remain so important, so prevalent in certainly what your topics that you cover?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit shocked, to be honest, when I heard in Twitter, I don't know who it was tweeting that there was only one user adoption session at the European SharePoint Conference now in Copenhagen, and this kind of really shook me again. Said, okay, I need to pick up this topic again next year. I was more talking about citizen developer now this year in the SharePoint Saturdays, but it's such an important topic to address, but there are not many doing it. And I'm always thinking why this is so. I mean, it's so damn important that users can start using this software and the applications and the tools which come out, and especially having the enablement of citizen developers. There will be more and more applications coming. So you need to find other ways to get those users use those new services and processes and so on. So I'm really thinking why this is so persistent, this problem that customers and also fellow consultants don't really address this topic. And I personally made it to my mission to change that together with some others in the industry. Of course, there is Tracy van der Schijf, so she's very vocal around the topic, so it's really cool.
Much so.
And then also Louise Freyse, she just got MVP right now and doing the kind of the sketch notes, which is really nice. So there are some people in the community who are also close to that topic, and of course, it wouldn't be community if we not try to help each other to achieve a common goal. And I think this is something what I will focus on more next year.
Well, so part of it though, if you think about it, I mean, in a technical community, that we kind of sprang out of. I mean, we both come from the SharePoint background and so these like SharePoint Saturday events that we're both organizers of. It's the it really caters more to, or has historically, to the IT pros and the developers within the space. But I think what has shifted is any technology, any category of technology matures. And so now talking about Office 365, Microsoft 365 in the broader sense, at some point you get to the point where you now have the groundswell of users that are on the platform that aren't IT pros. They're not admins. They're not developers. There may be power users that are in there, but most business users, they just then need to know how to get more out of the platform. So it's now the platform of record. They're ready to go and start using it. And that's where you start to see more of this kind of, this topic become important, even though you still go to these events and there's still largely IT pro and devs talking about, deployment, talking about management, talking about the minutia of extensibility, of integration, about all those topics.
Yeah.
But mainstream users just want to know, how do I use this stuff that you've built?
Exactly. I mean, they don't care if it's Teams, if it's SharePoint, if it's Dynamics, if it's whatever. They just want to get their work done, right? And they want to get it done as fast and as smooth and as easy as possible. So they don't really care what is happening in the background. Having said that, you need to kind of find this fine balance between the technology and the kind of organizational. How do you transport all this new technology and information to the end user? And that is the really hard part. And when you look at the conferences we are organizing, you have usually tech guys speaking to tech guys. And I think that is maybe also one of the reasons why user adoption topics are not so, let's say, common, because you have more these techie people and they don't actually really care so much about the end users. So they really care about more, okay, how can I optimize my PowerShell scripts to automate even more? Which is great, obviously. It's great to know that, but never forget the user. These are the ones who are actually using all your stuff. So
you think of even like the history though of Office 365, and I occasionally talk about this. Being part of that team back in 2006, and which has been rebranded twice from MMS to BPOS to Office 365, and the focus, the metrics of when you're establishing a platform and trying to sell licenses. It really doesn't matter whether end users are using it when you're trying to sell the software. And so Microsoft was focusing on selling that. What happened is a couple of years went by, they start selling it, it's moving faster and faster, and yet they're seeing that the renewal rates are not there. They're seeing that people are coming back and saying, we never use these features, we never use this product. That's where the user adoption, you really start to feel it as like an OEM, like Microsoft providing the software. Is an organization, you experience the same thing. You spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, could be millions of dollars, depending on the size of your organization, on all this technology. If your end users are not actually using it, it's not just the money that you've spent. It's the, how does that equate into productivity or innovation that is been unrealized? Correct.
Yeah, it's like just potential what you don't really tap into. That's one of the big costs you have when you don't focus on user adoption. It's just not only done when you have finished the project and deployed all your solutions and send it out there to the end user. It just starts then, actually, the real project.
That's the beginning,
and
right?
This is it's just the old mindset of I don't know, customers or people dealing with technology projects that, okay, once the tech is done, we are fine. We can focus on the next thing. So as you know and I know, it just doesn't work like that.
That's the problem. I mean, look, I started my career as a project manager in IT and the data warehousing world, and what I realize is that the more you involve end users in the process, the better the solution, the end solution is. Because if you are, if you're creating something in a vacuum without the input of the people that are actually using the technology, then the end result is not going to match. They're just across the board will not match their expectations when it's finally delivered. It has to be
Yeah,
this
of course. I mean,
organic process.
yeah, that's very true. I mean, that comes really hand in hand with all the kind of the agile way of building things, that you get, as you said, end users involved, not only key stakeholders, but really take the 50-year-old back office worker also into the sprint planning, really radically said, and say, hey, can you actually use this? Is this useful for you? If you kind of be more open and more loud about those things, this definitely will help.
You know what's really eye-opening is if people take the time to go, and I know there's videos and things that are out there of the process, but spend some time with a UX designer. Mm-hmm. and their process, the questions that they run through, where they pull in people that have no experience with the technology, and they're saying, here's a screen.
Yeah.
Like, walk through this, talk through like why did you click on that versus right. What did you expect to happen? Those kinds of, if you've been through that kind of experience, it's kind of like, I always liken it to when you're learning to drive. I love the idea, if everybody knew how to drive a motorcycle, they'd be better, car drivers, because you become more self-aware of how stupid people are out on the roads, especially around motorcycles, and you become more aware. And that's something I commuted for a year on a motorcycle in California in pleasant weather. Thankfully, while my bike was parked, it was hit, and not while I was riding it.
Good.
Because I think with motorcycles, it's just a matter of time. It's not, will get hit, it's when. But it made, even now, I'm more aware of motorcycles because of that, and giving them room. In a similar experience, as I look at a user experience on an app, or in Office 365 with my employees, with people that I'm working out with in a team, and I think I'm more aware of their feedback and how it relates to what I think they're experiencing. It's just made me more aware of that because of working with UX. Yeah.
You bring me just to an interesting point. Maybe you know about our product Habit, end user adoption framework. So
Didn't you guys just win some award or something? I think I heard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, ESPC award, best Office 365 add-in. So pretty cool. But what I did with the tool was that actually I took my mom and sat her in front of the tool and said, hey, can you actually use it? And I just briefly, in 10 seconds, told her what the tool is doing, and then I was just looking what she's doing. And to my luck, she was actually able to create this contextual content. So in that way, I could really test, is it really working without letting people giving a big user manual how to do it. So that would be a bit of a bad thing, providing the kind of a better UX through this. Not having said that, my mom is really not, cannot use a computer, but she's not really tech savvy. So she would be really, let's say, one of those elderly back office workers in an office trying to use this, and she could actually try it and work with the tool. So that was pretty cool.
I like also on your website the graphic where you guys have a direct impact on decreasing the number of WTFs that you experience. Exactly. That's a good, that's a good metric. So
as you know, we Finns, we are always straightforward. So less WTFs and also less WTFs for your colleagues, because you need to less harass them about how to do this certain type of things, or get some explanation about how to run a process. So obviously this in the end, drives productivity much faster.
And so in the couple of minutes we have left, Jussi, if you, I don't know, if you have advice for organizations that are recognizing that, we have an end user adoption issue. We have whatever your metrics are for that, going in there. We used to go and do like customer satisfaction surveys on SharePoint usage in an organization, and find that we were at like 15, 20% at best of like once a week in the technology. It was really low. So what for an organization that's now looking at that, are there like 3 or 4 things that you recommend for them to go and think about or do?
Okay, I mean, first of all, lose the fear of user adoption. Just don't be scared about it. I mean, yes, it is a difficult and painful topic, but it can be also very rewarding and satisfactory when you can see that your things are working out. And also, small changes have a really, really big impact. So it doesn't mean that you need to create, campaigns, marketing campaigns of your SharePoint or Office 365 applications. Lots of small things help. Videos, and there's a lot of cool content around in the community. Also, a picture says more than 1,000 words, so use a lot of infographics. Small short videos are very good. And of course, trying to build a community in the organization around the new platform helps a lot. That you have people evangelizing for your applications or for the new intranet. It is always creates more trust that if a colleague comes to me and say to me, hey, use these new Teams, it's awesome, Then if some external consultant come, hey, you need to use Teams now because you're more productive, I would say, hey, I have worked with Excel and my classic SharePoint for years. Why should I come now with this new stuff? So try to do things, and then also try to think how humans behave, in their everyday life. So for instance, users are very used to use mobile apps. So for instance, if you're running a Teams rollout project, maybe first roll out only the mobile app for a month or so, that they can actually using Teams in the mobile app, and then they get used to the user experience already, and then gradually you roll out the desktop application. So it doesn't just come in a one big bang, just give them chunks one by one, and user adoption is never done in a big bang. It's always a continuous process. So just having said that, me at Experts Insight, I'm actually at the moment coming up with a consulting product for user adoption as a service, so that it's going to be like a product that you can purchase as a customer, and then basically get user adoption as a service over a time period, and not just creating one in a big bang thing.
Well, that's interesting, because if you were able to go in and do that and get some guarantees of some adoption, or but even just to have it, the deployment and the onboarding of end users around UX, to have that automated away and have certain metrics and performance metrics, because that's also I think for a lot of people to say, it's like, well, how do I even measure whether I'm successful or not? We did a deployment. I mean, this is part of the problem, is that we turn on the service, we make it available, everyone has permissions, we've confirmed 100% of our end users, of our employees are on the platform. What are the right metrics to even identify whether we have adoption or not? I mean, that's a very real problem.
It's a very real problem, and a very good question. I think for every customer, the answer to that is different. It really depends a lot on the culture. I mean, some are really, really only, let's say, number driven. Okay, we need to have so many access per day on a certain site to have a successful user adoption. For another company, it could be that we created this community of evangelists, and they are spreading out the word all by themselves. That for me would be a perfect success story. So, it really depends. And as you said, you need to figure out what are your goals and try to find strategies to reach that goal. And user adoption is also a lot about marketing. I mean, you're a marketing professional. I don't need to tell you that, but you need to tell the users in the beginning, okay, what is in it for me? Why do I need to do this? The why, how, what rule from Simon Sinek fits really well into that. Why do I need to use this application? What do I do with it exactly? And how do I achieve the why? Yeah.
Exactly. And if we've got, tools, and we have, again, automation to help companies get better at identifying those kinds of measurements and being aware of some of the tools, the tricks of the trade that are available, I think it's only going to improve things across the board.
Yeah.
Well, Jussi, thanks a lot for your time. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out and find out more about Happit, about you? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so you can, for Happit, you can go to www.happit.com. There you can see some information about our tool. There is even a link to Just Happit, so you can actually download a browser extension where you can just use it for yourself for free, just to try it out. You can find me on social media, Twitter at Jussi Mori, and I think also on LinkedIn. You can just search for my name there. And then, of course, also check out expertsinsight.com. A really, really cool bunch of people working all around the productivity stack in Microsoft. So very, very active all over the world, but mostly in Central Europe.
Very cool. Well, thanks a lot for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Christian. Bye.
Bye.